for another assembly session here. We're going to do two assemblies. Right now we're going to do the gun assembly and we're going to do the turret assembly. Now with this T34 76, I'm doing the 1943 edition, which means we are going to use this. It's got a larger opening. I believe that's for the, it would be for the commander. And the side note with this one was that they only had one mount, inside mount for one of the figures, and I wanted to do both my figures. So I took the other early version of the top of the turret. I clipped off another seat mount and glued that onto it so I could mount both of my miniatures in the tank turret. So that little note there, if you do want to go with both of your figures instead of having that hatch closed. Another quick side note is if you're going to model your T34 so that the driver is exposed, you don't want this hatch up all the way. You want it partially down so that the turret can spin with the gun. The other thing that I've noticed is if you do want the driver, they have no mount in the kit for mounting the driver on, so he's facing out of the hatch, or you can see him through the hatch. So I'm going to need to fabricate something. I'm thinking about using one of the gas tanks that comes with the kit and just basically fabricating a place to put the driver. So that's something we'll mess with a little later, but just so you know, obviously these are not together yet. Leaving them apart so that when I get to the step where I'm going to start doing some painting, I may not want this on there yet for the painting purposes. I did go ahead in the paint booth over here and I went ahead and took the light gray tracks and I went ahead and hit them with the flat black. So those are prepped and ready to be put onto the tank. So let's go ahead and let's bust into this this assembly here. I've got my instructions handy. So we need to take this. Now I can't say enough good things about this glue, guys. It's like really good. I'm definitely switching over to this glue for all my modeling, including my miniatures. So there you have it. Now this gun, once we get it together, they do say on the instructions this back portion of the gun, they want painted gunmetal. I'm assuming that with both the hatches open like I'm modeling it, you may be able to see some of the gun through the turret right here, so probably gonna need to hit that with some gunmetal. But I went ahead and I did all the preps for the model. It's looking like if I can see this through the turret, I will want to sand some of these seams down. Now, one of the tips I can give you, if you guys are just starting with modeling, is the gun barrel and some of the parts do have little small mold lines. You can just take your straight edge, your razor blade, and you just turn it on edge and you just scrape and remove the mold lines pretty easily. So there's that. Now we're taking this and we are putting this on like this. It looks like got a little bit of flashing. You can just knock away with your fingernail. Make it so that the notch is up. I'm going to come in a little tighter on this shot. And let's get that glued in. So I'm just going to go ahead and assemble everything, see what's exposed, what's not exposed. But the nice thing about this glue is it gets into all the nooks and crannies of the gun, or the parts. Okay, so we got this. We are going to do E18. I don't know that I have that off of the kit yet. So let's go E18. Make sure I have that. Nope, there it is. I did not get that off the kit. trusty knife. We're going to knock this mold, injection mold, off. And it looks like this is going to go onto the side of the gun. It's probably like a gun shield inside when they're shooting the gun. Yep. Actually goes, yeah, two little holes. I gotta say, guys, the Tamiya kits are pretty amazing, and I really like how they're not overly complicated with too many parts. Like I said in the other segment, sometimes I think the drag in the kits can go a little overboard with the detail. It just depends. It depends on how you're going to display the model, I guess. And take a little bit more glue. We're going to go into that seam, and it just literally just soaks right into the seam. Works really, really well. Got a little flashing still on the gun I'm going to clean out from the mold. And let's go ahead and get the rest of this gun assembled. So we got this, and then it looks like we put the outer mantlet on, which is this side is up. Ah, yeah, nice. I'm thinking, guys, well, I don't know. I'm just saying, if you can make this so that the gun pivots, you know, but you don't want that coming out inside the turret, obviously, once you have the turret assembled. It doesn't say to glue or not to glue. Do not cement D12, but place this between D13 and D22. So it says not to glue it, so we're not going to glue it. I'm just going to follow the directions D13 and D22. Alright, so that would be D13. That's going to go obviously like this. Oh yeah, okay, so that'll keep your gun from coming back out. Gotcha. So that. I'm going to apply some glue here inside, and let's go for it. Alright, and then D22. Oh, D23. Gotcha, okay. So we're good. That is done. I think I'm going to have to take my files and do some fine filing, because we'll get this turret together. I bet you when we get this together, guys, back up a shot here a little bit. I'm thinking we're going to have to, I'm just going to do a dry fit here real quick on the turret. And put the mantlet in. And then put my top on, and I'm saying with the two figs in place, I don't think you're really going to see the gun, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it's going to be important to paint that, so we're just going to skip that. And let's continue on with the gun assembly. So we've got our barrel, we've got our other piece here. We're going to go ahead and put him in. I don't think it makes any difference which end. I'm going to have to clean off the end of the barrel better. And our hobby knife, like so. And apply some glue. See, these kits go together pretty well, pretty quick. So I'm going to put him in there. It looks like there's a little bit more flashing to get off that barrel. And then we are going to look at how this assembles. these little pieces here. These two little pieces, one of the trademarks of the earlier versions of the T34. So let's go ahead and get those two little pieces glued together. So be really precise with this glue. It's really nice stuff. Yeah, so there you have it. It dries pretty quick. So that's why I like to have all my parts prepped, and I just boom, 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 and we're just putting them together. So there's going to be the top of your gun. And again, I'm going to have to go over some of this because I think we're going to need to use some of our plastic putty, or Vallejo plastic putty in some of these seams, so we can play with how that works. So I'm going to hold this gun barrel, and I'm going to go ahead and hit that glue on those seams, and you'll, when you put this glue on those seams, it literally just, it goes right where you want it. Pretty amazing stuff. And then on to the turret. So I'm going to fix him. Oh, easy, easy, easy. I'm going to go in with some, just a tack. Just do a tack, like a tack weld. And we'll get that on the gun assembly, like so. And then I'm going to come back in with some more glue and go right along that seam. And let that glue gets right down in there and makes a nice solid joint. And then that is complete. So that's the gun assembly. We'll set him off to the side. Gun assembly's done. Now we're going to do our top plate for the top of the turret. Now I've got it upside down. And again, like I said, I went ahead and modified this kit so that I could make use of all the figures that comes with the kit. Now obviously we'll be painting those separately. Once I get done with my French over here. So there's one seat, there's two seats. As I said, everything's been cleaned and prepped. Now let's take the commander cupola and we will just do a couple of tacks. We've got some little inserts. Match up the inserts. Match up the inserts here. And come back in with some glue along the seam. And voila. Hold that in place for a little bit and let everything get happy. You can see how it just melds that plastic when you're gluing it. It just gets all fused is the word, I guess. See how fast it goes once you start cranking this thing out. Now the cool thing I noticed about the Russian tanks is the way their hatches open. You've got the hatches open towards the front of the tank, which gives the crew some protection when they open up that hatch. So that's going to go on nice and smooth. Again, we're just going to go in with like just two spots. I'm going to apply some glue to work like a tack weld. We're going to put the commander cupola together like so. And then I'm going to come in with some of this extra thin Tamiya glue and go right into that seam. Let it soak in. we're going to put on our ventilation devices. So we've got a little spot here. Oops. Knocked it loose. There we go. Going with some glue. Line up the grooves. And get that assembled. Imagine what it was like in a tank back then. Trying to breathe. Then come underneath and hit that seam with a little bit more glue. Makes a nice weld, a nice bond. And we got 2 more ventilation points. And I'm going to adjust the camera. We're going to come in tighter. You can see that how this is all coming together. Come in, a little bit of glue, put these ventilation holes, come in with the ventilators, plug those in, and plug this in. Now it doesn't like dry instantly, this glue, but you'll be able to see how it gives you a nice firm hold when you're getting ready to set this just off to the side. I've got these little tiny like grab hooks, little hooks. You can barely see them there on the table, little tiny ones. Now these are going to be a little bit more tricky. I'm going to come in with our tweezers, see if this set of tweezers is going to get the job done. I'm going to have to use my small tweezer. Yeah, I'm going to have to use my tweezers that are basically, get it in the shot here, fine tip tweezers. Now let's go ahead and do the 2 rear. Got too much glue there. That one. And, oops, dropped him already. So let's go in. Let's put him in his place. Look on the. Looks like they are oriented north-south on the turret. So let's turn him a little bit. These are the little details that, once you get it painted and weathered, really make the kit stand out. Upcoming video, I'll show you one of our other projects, the German 88 gun. I'm currently in the process of acquiring the 8-ton half-track transport truck that pulls the 88 gun, and we're probably going to do that in, well, we are going to do that in desert theme. I'm kind of thinking, guys, I'm going to do this as a winter diorama. We're going to do a winter scene with snow and whatnot. Tamiya just came out with some new weathering kits. There's our hatches, our hatch covers for the Commander. And we got a little flashing there I need to clean off. I'm going to go back on the shot a little bit here. Let's get that flashing cleaned off because we'll be able to see that when the hatches, since the hatch is going to be open. Again, just taking the edge of my knife and just scraping away the mold residue lines. Just a little clean up there. And we can go ahead and get our Commander hatch in place. Do a dry fit, kind of see how things are lining up. Let's go in, drop, drop, chop till you drop. Come in. I'm going to attach this front part of the commander's hatch. This seems to be a little tricky. I have to hold it here for just a little bit while it sets up. Oh, this glue, it works so good, man. It really does. That's super glue sometimes, even if you have the quick set, it ends up getting the plastic too soft or it sticks to your fingers. This stuff, if it gets on your fingers, it's not like it sticks to the model. It only reacts with the plastic, so that's, I guess, one of the things I really like the most about it. And you can see how fast I just set that on there, and that literally just, it was enough to get it in place so that I could carry on and get this model put together. Now, I've already dry fit this earlier to know how this hatch goes on, which direction to face it. So you go ahead, just put that in place. Also, and this is your loader. Stands in this position. And you see his hatch also. Whoop. Nope, 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 nope. I don't want you closed. I want you open. Again, you know the hatch opens towards the enemy if you're facing the enemy. And that way, it affords the crew some protection when you're coming out of the tank. Pretty slick, huh? We'll set that off to the side, let it dry thoroughly. And then we've got our main turret. And I'm going to look at a dry fit because I'm just going to, let's see, I think I'm going to, from this section around to the back, I'm going to lay a bead of glue. Like so. And then we'll come in and drop some in the seams. Place, and then we got like a little seam like right here where it's going to go in with our magical Tamiya glue, and drop that right in the seam, and that glue just gets right in there, just like a dream. Very nice. Alright, let the stuff thoroughly dry and we'll just kit bash that. And we'll come back to do another segment. Okay, got the turret assembly all together. Everything goes together pretty smooth. It's got just some keyed slots, typical tank assembly. All this went together pretty smooth. We got the action of the barrel up and down, so that's working nice. It turns out there is a seat for the driver. It's just a little insert that goes inside this tab that once we get the driver painted up. So the driver is going to go mounted in here like this. See, so I've already built the driver. So we'll leave these two separate. They actually have a couple of rubber pins on the front and a little slot in the back where the tank will go together in the final assembly. The other thing that I noted on this model is there is a front plate assembly that is not in the instructions, and I'm assuming, well, obviously that was something that was added on in the later years of the war to give it more frontal protection. It's one giant piece. Now I will point out right here and right here, I did have to notch with my cutters out some area for this plate to fit properly. It did not fit on properly, and again, this was not in the instructions. Yeah, that would be my only complaint. This is an older kit. I think it was first tooled and prepped by Tamiya back in 1986, so it's an older kit. Overall, the instructions are good. Now we're going to go about building up the gas tanks, the external gas tanks, the packs. It comes with packs. I'm going to build up the commander and the loader. We've got some crates, things like that I'm going to put on the outside of the tank. So I'm going to build those things separately. We even have some of the logs that were classic for the Russian vehicles. They would put logs along the sides of the vehicle. So I'm going to take those off. I'm going to clean them. I'm going to paint those all separately before they're assembled onto the tank. So yeah, directions. The directions were so-so. There's some parts that were on the kit that really wasn't very well explained where they should go. We got our tow cables. Tow cables, I'm going to clip those off, sand off the rough spots, cut off the rough spots, and then I'm going to obviously paint those a gunmetal separately before we assemble those onto the tank. That didn't sound good. So we've got all this is going to get done in flat black today, and then has a base coat of flat black, and I'll get started on the figures. And next segment we'll do would be the building of the ZIS 5 transport truck. So yeah, stay tuned guys, we got more to come. Alright, going to do our base coat here guys, flat black. Got my primer, going to get it shaken up. Our airbrush is all charged up. I'm going to go ahead and load up our Neo. Got our Neo. We're gonna nice circular motion from one angle. We're going to coat this thing top to bottom. I'm using the small bowl on my airbrush, that's okay. Just keep refilling it. I should have put the larger bowl on. I'm just going to do the inside of the tank. Self-leveling primer, so you can say it's not really doing this as a primer necessarily, it's just a highlight color. And I do have some Vallejo thinner on the way. I'm just going to use my existing Vallejo paint, so I don't have to buy special paint. And then we'll just thin it down and go through the airbrush. I think that's a wiser choice. We're going to just get down in all those vents, not too heavy. I'm scanning back probably 8 inches or so, 6 to 8 inches.